I'm going to go through a little bit at first, just a little bit about both of our companies, because we have two companies. And then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about where we are right now, kind of where we're going, and a little bit about our intern program. I'm going to do a short presentation, but I'm mostly going to tell you all this information just to start off with at first. So we actually are an IT security consulting company that works in the healthcare space. So what all of our clients have in common is they all have some sort of access to patient data. So it could be your obvious hospitals and things like that, but it's software companies and insurance companies and document management companies. It kind of runs the gamut. So what we're looking at is security. We're doing security risk assessments like most people would do, only we just have a stronger HIPAA slope on what we're doing. We're really looking at it as it relates to HIPAA. And what we do at the end of the day is primarily about 75% of our business is security risk assessments, where we're doing assessments for people and coming back to them, providing them with a risk assessment that tells them all the things we see that could be a potential data loss or breach issue for them, and then we categorize them. We have two different companies. Each company is kind of focused on a different area. So our parent company, Meditology, does mostly looking at infrastructure, database, physical security, medical device security. Meditology looks like a true consulting company. It looks like a small Price Waterhouse because that's where two of our partners came from. So Meditology has a certified ethical hacking team. They've got a cloud security team. They've got a SOC 2 security team. They've got a high trust security team, and they've got privacy and a few other things. Meditology will also do general consulting with people, where they may go in and just look at your environment and help you understand like what types of managed service providers you need. We're not a managed service company, but we'll help you understand who you need. We might help you pick your tools. So we may be doing some of that kind of work. So Meditology set up like a true consulting company. Everybody that works there is a security consultant of one kind or another, with the exception of a small project coordination team that helps manage our project plans. We have a sister company called Coral. And so what we did was we took all of our third-party vendor assessments into a separate company. So third-party vendor assessments, which you may have already learned, are basically when you're looking at outside, great examples are every company has a ton of software that they use every day to do business with. And the new way for people to do, ransomware and hacks and things like that is they go around in your environment until they find a product that you're using that's not secure. They'll use that product as a gateway, and they go through that product to the database. They'll steal data that way. That's prevalent now, and really sort of the way some of the most recent, really high profile ransomware attacks have taken place. So Coral is a consulting company, but it's structured very different because they deal with so much data at Coral, because you literally could have hundreds of vendors sitting in your environment, basically different softwares and tools that you're using. And so Coral kind of sits in between the client and the vendor to do their assessments, where they're working with the client and then they're also working with the vendor to gather evidence and looking at their security posture. At the end of the day, they're coming up with the same type of report, only they go about it a little bit different because there's so much data involved. So Coral has two security teams. One is a non-facing non-facing security team. One is a client-facing security team. And then the rest of the people that work at Coral are business people of one kind or another that help kind of facilitate the process because of the data aspect that they're dealing with. We have got about 160 employees. I think when I started working at Georgia State, we had 50. So we have 160 employees between both companies. It's divided evenly about 80 and 80. And we actually took on venture capital funding in January because at Coral, we own data on about 81,000 vendors. So as we assessed our vendors at Coral, we started storing all that data so we could use it over and over again. And we're getting ready to basically spin a software security company out of Coral. So we're going to take Coral's data and some other stuff that we have, and we're going to create from scratch a SaaS product that is a third-party vendor management security product that we're going to be spinning out in the next couple of years because we're going to have to develop it. Basically, we've got some information, but we're going to be developing it from scratch. Coral will always continue to have a service aspect like we do now, but it will also have a software company as well. So it's going to be a little bit different. So that is a huge, big, like, futuristic change for us. That's a really positive change. So we are obviously going to continue to hire our securities consulting staff, but down the road, we're also going to be hiring developers and other people that we have not hired in the past that we're going to start hiring going forward. So for us, our intern program is meant to hire full-time employees. We don't want like interns for the summer or interns coming in for a couple of months. We basically get interns in our door, and what we're doing is we're really training you to become full-time consultants for us. So instead of coming out of school and just throwing you in front of a customer, what we do is we take you through all these different aspects of our business as an intern. And then we allow you to learn how to do the business, with the other side being actually a job offer. And so we're creating full-time employees, which is kind of different. Some people just have summer internships and some people do internships. Ours is truly meant to create full-time employees. I cannot tell you how many Georgia State graduates from this program we have. We probably have 15 people that have come out of this program over the time that we've had made full-time employees. It is a good match because the course curriculum kind of closely matches a lot of what we do as a company. And the quality of students out of y'all's program, in my humble opinion, recruiting all over the country, are probably the best I see from any other place I'm recruiting from. So I'm always tapping back in because we just get such great candidates from this group. So each company kind of has a different focus. And what we typically do is we sometimes now bring people in and have them work on a little bit of work from Meditology and a little bit of work from Coral simultaneously to get an idea of what both companies do. And we train that way. With the exception of our Coral client engagement team, which is the client-facing team at Coral, we will go ahead and put interns directly into that group because it's kind of a different process, and we want them to get into that process fairly quickly. The internal audit team at Coral and the ITRM consulting team for Meditology, they do a lot of similar work. So you can kind of go back and forth in between those two and do that work to learn how to do it. So it's a great like hands-on way to learn how to do this position. I want to put my presentation up and I'm going to see how, let's see. I'll probably do this. Let's see. Trying to figure out how to get my presentation up. Well, I'm not doing a very good job here. Let's see. Here we go. Finally. Okay, can everybody see this? Hopefully.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to skip a couple of these because I kind of went over. So for us, kind of telling you a little bit about what we do. So on the Meditology side, we have different practices that do different types of work. The interesting thing is nobody comes in here and gets siloed into just one thing. It's just not our model. So what ends up happening is people come in here and we kind of take you through really everything that we do. So high trust work, SOC 2 work, PCI work, ISO, ethical hacking, medical device security. And we allow you to do different work while you're here, because what ends up happening is, in a weird kind of way, you are going to kind of gravitate towards something that you do well or something that you enjoy doing. And so what we have here are more what I would consider subject matter experts than somebody just working on the same thing every single day, all day. So unlike a lot of companies, we're a little broader in that you will eventually probably become a subject matter expert in something, but you'll continue to do other types of assessment work so that you're not just getting siloed into one single thing. At the end of this intern process, we really want to be able to put you in front of a client. So it's really kind of taking you through the different aspects of our business so that when you graduate, come in as an associate, you're sort of ready to be on client facing projects, and you are working on real projects here. You're not working on anything that's not real. We have clients all over the US. Our client base is bigger than this even now. So basically, we have clients that we're servicing all over the country. We have offices here in Atlanta. That's where we're headquartered. We've got an office in Philadelphia, and we've got an office in San Diego. Truthfully, right now, we're not back in our offices. We're still working remote. So, we are still hiring people in Atlanta, in Philly and San Diego, but to be honest with you, we're still in the remote working process. And whenever we do go back to our office, it's going to be some sort of hybrid situation. We're not going to go back into a full-fledged office situation. Because we don't have as much space as we used to, and we have a lot more employees than pre-COVID. So we're not ever going to fit back into our office space to begin with, and we're not going to go out and get additional space at this point. So I think, healthcare is a very interesting business because it's, in a weird kind of way, when you get inside of a lot of hospitals and things like that, they're super soft targets because mostly they're trying to do their jobs every day, which is save people's lives and keep you healthy. And so, the healthcare industry has become a very soft target for people and a very heavy ransomware target. So, we're in a space that I feel like is, where we are the experts in this space. We're not trying to be everybody's answer to every single problem that they have. We are really trying to kind of focus in on something that we do well. And we're very branded in our space. So we're name recognized at this point. People know who we are. When I got here in 2016, we were not nearly as branded as we are today. But nowadays people will tell you they know who we are. We, have a very, good practice lines that kind of focus on things. A lot of people will take their third-party vendor assessments and wrap those up into their security practice. And we decided to take it and separate it out into a separate company to create Coral, because we felt like the process needed a lot more people, but a different type of process attached to it to get the work done and to make sure that it was done in a manner that really delivered back to the client as quickly as we could. We have an extremely diverse, client or candidate pool here in the company. We continue to kind of be committed to that, and we always have been. This has always been, our thing, that we were very committed to diversity. We've got a very, probably at this point, even larger population or, women employees in this business, because we think that's important, but it's a very diverse group here. And honestly, it's kind of our culture. So I will say that it's not something that I have to work towards, because it is culturally ingrained in us and always has been. We've got, I think I told you guys, several different, types of practice lines. So you kind of get involved in a little bit of everything that we do as an intern. So we're not going to bring you in. It's not intended for you to do our busy work that we don't feel like doing. It's really literally intended to push you out after school as a full-time consultant. And I will tell you, we hire about 98% of everybody we bring in for this intern program. The interns that we have from the past, like my very first presentation at Georgia State was probably like in the fall of 2016. And I hired my very first intern from there, and she's now one of our managers. So, there is a defined career path here. We will keep moving people up. If you look at our senior associates, most of our senior associates were in our intern program at some time. We're continuing to build the staff at both companies from our intern program. And I honestly think that we make better people than I can go out on the market and hire. So when I do have to go to market to hire, it's more difficult because I feel like our people that we create inside of this company are so much stronger than what I'm seeing out on the market right now. And especially, I will say once again, from this program, this is an exceptional program. Y'all are all very lucky. I recruit out of a lot of schools, and I've not seen any program quite as deep as this program that they have at Georgia State at any other school I've recruited from. So, when you come in as an intern here, you will get put on different projects. So you won't just be on one project. So you'll get put on different projects here, doing different kinds of work. You'll be on a project most of the time with like an associate level person, a senior associate, and a delivery manager or a manager, but you will also have like direct contact with C-level executives here on projects, and you'll get exposure to different levels of everybody here. So you're not going to be somebody that comes in that nobody knows who you are, or you're just doing some work someplace, in a room and nobody cares what you're doing. You get a lot of exposure here to a lot of, managers and executive managers. So, you're really kind of getting yourself ready. We are not traveling right now, because most of our clients don't want to see us because they're all in the healthcare business. So they're not interested in us showing up at their location. But eventually, when we do go back to traveling, I will tell you, it won't be as much as we probably did pre-COVID. Pre-COVID, we were probably at about 30 to 40%. We might do one trip a quarter when we go back to traveling. And our traveling is like a couple of days here and a couple of days there. We don't go someplace and stay for long periods of time. We don't go and sit in your environment for a week. And that is mostly because you're working on multiple projects at the same time. We kind of help basically, take what you've learned in school and, allow you to learn additional kind of hands-on, on-the-job types of things as it relates to what you've learned in school. But we also kind of get you ready to be client-facing. So, working on like communication skills and, being able to present to clients and things like that. So that's kind of all part of the program. You'll work on a lot of different projects here. Again, like I said, you're not going to get pigeonholed into one type of project. You'll work on lots of different things, because that is a little bit of how over time you become a subject matter expert. Is you will find something that you're doing here that you will like more than you probably like other types of things that you're doing. And everybody's different. And then they kind of find a little bit about like what they like to do. Kind of prepares you if you're interested in being like a CISO one day or a CIO. This is a great industry to be in to get you prepared to do that. I will tell you, consulting is a great place to start if you enjoy it, because people really, and this is over the years that I've been recruiting, which is a long time, people really, really kind of look for people coming out of consulting companies, even in the private sector, because the skills that you learn as a consultant help you go in and evaluate problems and projects and things like that much quicker than the average person. So this has always been a great business. If you're starting your career out, it's a great business to be in. And a lot of times people come in and they work for us for 5, 6, 7 years, and they'll go on to private sector to do other things. And it's funny. And then eventually they usually come back to work for us and start consulting with us at night. So, most of the people that have even left to go to private sector that have worked with us, a lot of times will come back and help us out in different ways later on. So, some of the things that you'll learn, like as a typical, you're going to do a lot of, project management and documentation. So you'll learn a lot about managing projects, a lot of report writing that basically gets, part of our assessment process, obviously, is providing all these reports back to our clients. So writing reports and getting things ready to present to C-level executives. You'll be doing like testing and other projects that will kind of allow you to get some deeper experience. You basically will be a part of a lot of meetings. So we do a lot of client meetings, we do a lot of internal meetings, and you will basically be a part of both of those. So you will be sitting in on client calls, you will be sitting in on internal meetings. So you're really kind of getting a really direct, hands-on, really experience with what we're doing. And basically, play roles inside of all these things that we're doing. So you do get to be a part of a lot of different pieces of things. I will tell you, the only we have two practices where people get involved in those practices eventually and they don't do anything else. And it's really just because of the depth of the technical knowledge that you have to have. One is you will get to do hacking and things like that as an intern, but once people go to work for us as a penetration tester, that's really all they do, because pen testing is very different. The same thing is that we have a cloud security practice. And so you may get exposure to a lot of those projects, but if you go to work full time for us, a lot of times the people on our cloud practice tend to stay inside of that practice because it's just a much more technical practice. Other than that, everything else we do is pretty diverse. So for the hiring process, here are the things that I kind of look for. We want people that are very passionate about this business, that are passionate about cybersecurity. We're looking for people who want to be in front of clients. So you have to have a client-facing personality. And I always laugh and say that we do have two kinds of jobs here. We have jobs for people who want to be in front of clients, but we do have one team here that is an audit team that does not client face. So there is a job here for people who might go, hey, I'd like to do this. You're still kind of getting consulting experience because you're doing all these different projects. You're not stuck on one project inside of one company. But I do have one team that is not client facing that we will also hire interns for. And that process is more, it looks a lot more like an internal audit job at a company, but you work on multiple different projects. So you're not stuck dealing with one environment all day long. The interesting thing about what we do is we go in and out of other people's environments. So we're not stuck on one framework. We're not stuck in one environment. We're not stuck in one thing. If you go in and out of other people's environments, you're going to hit every framework out there. So, we do a lot of NIST and we do a lot of high trust because we're in the healthcare business, but we see ISO, we see COVID, we do PCI. We do everything because we are not in a stagnant environment all day. We are inside the client's environment. So that's the other good thing about it, is you get a very broad experience here just from going in and out of all those other environments. What we typically do is I have 2 requisitions out on Handshake. So I will tell everybody that you can go out and apply to those 2 recs, and I will give you those requisition numbers right now, just so you'll have them. The requisition for Meditology is 611-5538. And again, that's 611-5538, and that's for Meditology. And then the one for Coral is 630-6593. Again, it's 630-6593. And so you can basically go in and apply to those jobs, and it will come to me through Handshake. I also don't have an issue, and I think that in the past they provided you all with my email address. I have no problem with you emailing me directly and saying, hey, but you need to go in and apply to Handshake, because that's how the school also keeps up with it. I don't have any problem with you guys sending me a direct email saying, hey, Donna, I was on the call yesterday as well. So you can email me directly. Then what I do is I usually spend a good 30 minutes kind of talking to you. I'll go over a lot of the same things I went over today, but we'll talk for 30 minutes, a little bit about the company. I'll kind of go in depth about what we're looking from intern process, talk to you a little bit about your background. What we do then is basically we send you over to the hiring managers, and we typically do like an initial 30-minute screen with one of the managers. Well, usually 2 senior associates is where we start. So we do a 30-minute screen with 2 senior associates, and then one probably screen with a manager. So they're both like 30 minutes. They're Zoom screens. And so that's pretty much the hiring process. And then, obviously we've got intern jobs that people can start right now. And then I know for some people, if you're here on your student visa, you have to start maybe sometime in May, or there might be a start date for you. And that's fine too, because we're heading down that path. I will tell you, for anyone who's here on a visa, we do provide sponsorship and green card sponsorship here. So when we do hire people in, if you are on a student visa and then you go to your OPT, we will sponsor you and we will sponsor your green card. So we will do H1 and green card sponsorship. We have no problem with that. And we do that a good bit here as well. So from my perspective, that's kind of pretty much it from a presentation standpoint. So what I want to do is kind of open it up to anybody that might have any specific questions for me.
I have a question, Donna. Can I ask?
Sure.
Yeah, it was a great presentation, by the way. It was an amazing presentation, and glad to know that more than 40% of the company employees are from Georgia State University.
They do.
Myself, I'm Sai Charan. I do have a work experience in healthcare industry. I have worked in genomics research and all from back in India, but most of my experience from data analytics part. My first question is like, will the company consider only cybersecurity, or else you might consider the different branches like big data analytics or?
I will tell you what I feel like is going to happen right now. So in the past, we've mostly just looked at cybersecurity people, but because we're getting ready to spin out this software company, I think that that's going to open up some new jobs that we don't have now. The interesting thing about Coral is, in a weird way, Coral is a data company too. So we own data on 81,000 vendors. So you can imagine the massive amount of data that we're dealing with. And as we go in to start developing this security product, it's going to be a very data-driven product, because what we're doing is we're developing it based on all this data that we already own. So yes, we actually have a data team. And I'm in the past, I really haven't looked at a lot of other people, but now, based on what we're about to do, I am going to have to start looking at people from different majors at Georgia State that I didn't look at before, but now I will. So yes,
awesome.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the best thing I like from the presentation is because we can work from the cross projects, and it's like a diversification of project. It's not only hanging on single project throughout the internship. So it will be a hands-on experience throughout the internship. Yeah. So definitely, I'm from data analytics part, so I'll be applying both of the internships, and I'll be looking forward to showcase my skills as well. Thank you so much, Donna, for the presentation.
Thanks. Anybody else have any questions?
I have a question, Donna. You had mentioned how the coursework at Robinson really is a good match for your roles. Could you expound on what those core competencies you're looking at?
Actually, your master's program is really, what's interesting about your master's program is you guys go a little deeper into a lot of the I would say the assessment side of things, but you have a deeper kind of even though we work across a lot of different frameworks, NIST is our primary framework in the healthcare industry. It's not the only one, it's just the primary one. And so I find a lot of times more people have had a lot more exposure to NIST, which is a really good start for us. You guys do delve into a little bit of healthcare stuff. I think most of the time I find that people that are coming out of those programs have done some type of healthcare project or been a part of something like that. In general, I would say that your program just has a lot more depth to it. I mean, it's funny, I talk to a lot of people out of other master's programs, and the projects that they're working on aren't as relative. The depth of the education is not as deep as what you guys are getting into from a cybersecurity standpoint. I also find that a lot of times when I'm talking to people out of these programs, whether it's relevant to what we did or not, a lot of your students had prior careers where they did something. So, I mean, what I find interesting is just because you haven't done, sometimes you find people that did cybersecurity and then came here and went to school and they're coming out. But a lot of times, and especially at Coral, I find a lot of people that have had other careers before, and that's helpful to us because your business experience from that other career, plus your degree from Georgia State, usually just makes great employees.
Are there any other questions for Donna?
Yes, I do have a question. If the internship program for the summer is going to start, how soon is it going to start? When is the start date?
So there are two ways that we can start people. Like if you're here and and this is more just, if people are here on a student visa, my understanding is you sort of can't start an internship a lot of times until May, or you have specific dates that you can start because of your visa. If you're not, and you're here and you're a US citizen, green card holder, or whatever, you can start whenever you want. We could start you next week if you wanted to. So a lot of that depends on really the person's availability and when they can start. We're getting close to that May start date. So, for people that can do that, we're there anyway. So either way, this is timing wise, this is a fine time, but it's just a lot of it depends on that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So one more doubt I'm having, is it remote work or we have to come to the office?
Mostly everyone's working remote. I will tell you that occasionally some of the teams will go into the office to meet or something like that. But in general, I will tell you everybody's still working remote.
Okay. Thank you, Donna.
We
And
will
approximately,
we will eventually go back into some type of hybrid thing. It's just because we're in the healthcare space, you guys, we're going to be more ginger about that. We're not going to be like rushing back into the office like, hey, let's all get together. The other thing is we don't have as much space. So it's impossible for us to put our entire staff back into the office anyway. So it will be probably like a hybrid thing, like where maybe a team comes in 1 day a week or 2 days a week. Probably for some of the things that you guys are doing, it would be less. Because if you look at that consulting staff that we have, they're all over the country. Same thing with Coral though. Coral's client engagement team, which is really their consulting team, those guys are everywhere all over the country. So there is no reason for them to be in the office anymore.
okay. Thank you so much. And approximately how much time it would take to hear back from the hiring manager once we start applying through the handshake?
We're pretty fast. With what you're doing, what I'd have to do is probably just kind of reach out to the teams right now and find out where we are with. So this software thing we're about to do is brand new. Like we just got the money for it in July. We just hired a VP of product. He just started like a month ago. And we are just now kind of going into what I would consider like a kind of the start of that hiring process. But a lot of times with somebody like you, I'll just take your resume and send it to people. I don't need to have a job. I can always just say, hey, here's somebody we can look at.
Thank you so much.
Hi Donna, this is Ankita here.
Hi.
Can you please share your email address so that we can share our resume?
Yes. And I'm trying to think of the best way. My email address is so long. It's hilarious. It's not an easy email address.
Donna, you want me to just copy and paste it?
Yes, if you don't
Okay,
mind,
I
give it
will
to
do it.
everybody
Okay.
because it is such a long email address. It's not easy to give to people. We probably could have done a better job with our email addresses because they are super long. Yeah, and I would, like I said, want you to go in and apply on Handshake, but I'd almost prefer if you want for you just to contact me directly. It'll be a lot faster. I mean, I will look at Handshake and I do look at Handshake every day, but I would just prefer to know that. Also would like to know if you were part of the presentation so that at least I know what you were told.
Okay, thank you.
So, from a timing standpoint, either way, it really doesn't matter. I'm pretty sure that like most of the people at Georgia State, if you're there on a student visa, most of the people can start, probably in May, or it could be a different time. So we don't, like I said, we're used to dealing with that. And then anybody else, we can start interns. We don't have to start you as a big group either. We're not trying to have everybody come in to some class together because you're all going to be working on different projects. You're going to report to different people. So we don't have like a big group of people that are just doing the same thing. So what we do when we bring somebody in is you get a hiring manager, you get assigned, and then you get put on projects. So when you start, it doesn't have to be all at the same time. So we don't care about that. We can start one of you next week and then one of you 3 weeks from now, and it would be great. And that's fine with us.
And undergraduate and graduate can apply, right?
Yes, it does not matter. We do not care. The intern program can be somebody from the undergraduate program, or it could be somebody from the master's program, but we have both actually.
Our program CPT starts from May 4th, 2022. May 1st week, May 4th, 2022.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was sometime. I knew. So we're fine with that. And we will work towards those dates because in reality, we're not that. By the time you go through an interview process and all that, you're hitting those dates almost anyway. So that won't be an issue for us at all.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Donna. Hope we haven't troubled you with my questions.
No, I'm fine. So does anybody else have any other questions? Okay. Well, just look forward to hearing from anybody that's interested. And then what I'll do is I will schedule times to talk to all of you individually. And again, some of this will be I will repeat some of the stuff from today, but just get an idea of that, but also too a little bit about your background.
Sure, thank you so much.